Leslie Rob comedy, welcome to the show. Wait, Leslie Rob said what? What? Leslie Rob said what? What'd she say? What? Leslie Rob said what?
Well, hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of Leslie Said What. Guys, it has been forever, probably longer than I should admit, since we've had an episode, okay? But hey, it's still season 4, so it still counts, right? Okay, so those of you who are new to joining us, thank you so much for joining us. For those of you who are always here, thanks for being here. But guys, what we want you to know most is that guess what? This is the type of podcast that's live. So you can join the podcast via the comments. Feel free to ask questions, make comments, and then we will make your comments known and we will answer your questions for you. So feel free to join the conversation via the comments. Okay, guys. So our series, Testimonies or Teachers and Testimonies, is continuing with season 4, episode 4. And so just like in all of our other episodes, this episode will not disappoint. Okay, so definitely comment, ask questions, whatever, because tonight's guest is not going to disappoint you guys. Her name is Marsee Huffman. She is a teacher and she is going to answer some questions and share her testimony, and we're going to just have a lot of fun. So guys, welcome. So without further ado, let's bring her on, Marsee Huffman.
Hey!
Hey, Marsee, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Marsee, it's so crazy because we just met, like a few months ago?
Yeah, literally, like maybe at least a month ago.
At least a month ago. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I did a show for teachers at Marsee's church in her town out in Kentucky. And so we all hit it off. Like we would think we were friends forever. Am I right, Marsee?
Yeah, absolutely. And we just picked up like we had always known each other.
I know, it was crazy. We had so much fun. And yeah. I totally enjoyed doing a show there. It was a lot of fun.
We loved having you.
Oh, well, awesome. Thank you. And guys, so in addition to being a teacher, Marsee is also a mom. So I got to see Marsee in full mom mode, like running kids to all types of practices. How is that? How do you do it, Marsee? How do you manage, getting all 3 kids to their activities and being a teacher at the same time? How do you do it?
I honestly don't know. I think it is a lot of God just kind of like making me numb to it and giving me the energy I need. So we have 3 kids. One is small, he's 4, so he just does like baby gymnastics. But then our oldest is in middle school. He's in football and archery, and then our middle, she does dance and cross country. And so we're just, especially in the fall, it's crazy busy. So I think like when you came, I can't remember what we were doing. We were coming from something.
Some practice.
Oh, dance. We were coming from dance. I remember it now. And my sister had said, hey, what time can you meet to have dinner? And I said, well, we're done at this time. And she's like, okay, that's when we'll have dinner. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And so we came immediately. But yeah, fall is especially a crazy time for us with football and cross country.
Yeah, because you got kids in all types of fall sports, and then you're starting school as a teacher. Like, girl, the craziness. Because that's one thing I am truly grateful for, is I tell people all the time, yes, okay, all right, infertility can be issues, but teaching and then having to go home and be a mom, I would be exhausted.
Yeah, so go ahead.
No, I was just saying, hats off to you guys that do it.
Thanks. Yeah, it's hard because I definitely come home and I'm super tired, and just want to, and in the fall, we're getting home at like 9 p.m., if not later, depending on games or races or whatever's going on. And it's hard to, give my kids at home all of me after I feel like I've just poured out all day. But
yeah, especially in the classroom, and then having to go home and do the same. Yeah.
Oh
my gosh. Well, I'm just grateful that you took out time out of your busy schedule to be here with me tonight. So thank you so much.
Of course.
So introduce yourself. Who is Miss Huffman?
Okay. So, I don't know. I am a Christian teacher, obviously. I've been teaching for a handful of years. I think this is maybe year 9 for me. I'm a
Mhm.
non-traditional teacher, so I have, and I'll use that in my testimony. But I have I guess, a kind of interesting backstory to how I came into teaching.
Yeah.
But I teach science, high school science, um, and mom, wife, sister,
Yeah.
daughter. Um, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm
no. It
kind of
makes complete
basic.
sense. Yeah, hey, basic is good, trust me.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot less trouble.
Well, you said that, like, it was interesting how you got into teaching. So what brought you to teaching?
Okay, so my mom was a teacher.
Mhm.
She retired. Actually, I think we technically overlapped a month in our employment.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
yeah, but it was in the summer, so we never actually
Taught in the same
worked at the
building
same
or anything.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so she taught for 31 years.
Uh-huh.
And I was always in well, just all growing up. I was kind of the teacher's pet, nerdy kid, made the good grades. And so and I always liked science. And so when I got into high school in my senior year and I'm looking at, okay, well, what am I going to do?
Mhm.
It was between teaching and maybe going into medicine.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah. And so my mom, and she laughs about it now because
Yeah.
God writes funny stories.
That he does.
Um, but she, when I was going to college, said, "I will not help you through college if you go into teaching."
She said she wouldn't help you become a teacher?
No,
What?
and I'm the
Why?
oldest,
Yeah,
so
and so
that
she's like, "You're not allowed to be a teacher."
not allowed to be a teacher. She said, she did. She said I can share this story,
Oh,
but
good.
she said that I could, that I was too smart.
To go to school to be a teacher?
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I was not expecting that. So
yeah.
she said you were too smart to go to school to be a teacher and therefore would not support you.
She and she was looking at it obviously from a financial standpoint.
Yeah, and exactly.
She wanted me to do better, and I guess, and make more is how I should say that. So I was like,
Yes,
well,
ma'am.
yeah. So 18-year-old me is like, I need mom and dad's help.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm going into medicine. And I didn't know what I was going to do in medicine. So I was a biology major, and kind of I played with different ideas, like, okay, I knew I didn't want to be an MD, like a doctor.
Yeah.
Um I thought about dentistry, I thought about physical therapy. The college I was at the time didn't have a nursing program, so, and I didn't want to transfer college, so I kind of ruled that out.
Mhm.
And so, about my junior year of college, another doctor that was local to us, that was actually really like influential in my life, and
Yeah.
actually saved my life at one point, literally.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, that's another story.
Yeah.
But
You're like,
yeah, he was like, "Well, what about physician assistant?" And he kind of explained it to me, and that was, gosh, I was that was early 2000s, so I really didn't know much about that field.
Mhm.
And so we talked about it, I looked into it, and I thought, well, that sounds good. It sounds, flexible. I can still, because I want to have a family, I want to be available for my kids and
Yeah.
all that. And so I went into that.
Okay.
And so I graduated college. And I also met my now husband my junior year
Who is
of
awesome, by the way.
college. Do
Love him.
what?
I love him.
He's a
He's
pretty
so
cool guy.
awesome. He
He's a
is.
he's such a wild, like, combination of a person.
Yeah, he's
Um
so cool.
yeah. But anyway, so I met him. He lived about an hour away from where I was in school.
Uh-huh.
And so when I graduated, right after that, we got married. moved up to Lexington, Kentucky,
Okay.
and I applied for UK PA school because at the time that was the only PA program anywhere close to where we lived.
Yeah.
Um,
And you guys,
so
she lives in a super small town.
super small
Super small
town.
town. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Although when you go out to Eastern Kentucky, they call us big city. They say I'm a city girl. I'm like,
You're like, not quite, but
no,
sure.
but okay.
Okay, we'll take
Um,
it.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, um, I got into PA school, um, and went through all that and
Yeah.
graduated. And I was a practicing PA, and
Nice.
I worked, yeah, I worked in pediatrics. And so, like I said, God writes funny stories. Um, I got into that field, um, got s- and when I was going through school, like I liked the schoolwork, I liked the subject matter,
Yeah.
I loved my classes, but then when I got into my clinicals and then into practice, I hated it. Absolutely hated it. But I felt like I was stuck there because I
Hmm.
spent all this time and money,
Money. Yeah.
and I had student loans that needed a PA salary.
Right. Not a teacher salary to pay student
Not
loans,
a
for sure.
No, not a teacher salary.
For sure.
So anyway, um I went in, and while I was first practicing, our oldest son was born.
Yeah.
And so um I had him. I worked an hour and a half, and this also didn't help. I worked an hour and a half from home.
Oh
So I was
gosh.
driving an
Being a
hour and
new
a half,
mom.
yeah, one
Yeah.
way. I worked 4 days a week. And I just started getting super, super depressed.
Yeah.
Um, and I just wasn't happy. And honestly, what happened was um I had trouble passing my boards.
Oh.
And I every like practice exam, everything I ever did, I always was fine. I passed with flying colors and everything was great. And then I would go in and just not I wouldn't pass. And so I thought, what is going on? Like, I graduated, I have my degree, and we everybody was praying for me, and we were just didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
And so my husband, seeing that things weren't going well and I was struggling, he said, "Well, what if we um move down to where your parents live? We move back to your home." And he's from Texas. So I was like, "Why?" Like
Yeah. Like what? Yeah.
there ain't nothing down there. What are you wanting to
Yeah.
do?
You're like little tiny small town.
Yeah. And so anyway, I interviewed and got a job, a PA job down here, and they knew what was going on. And before we moved, I had, left the practice I was at. And before we moved, I just kept hearing God saying, just be still. Just be still for a minute. Just
Yeah.
stop. Stop pushing. Stop trying to do what you think everybody else wants you to do,
Ooh.
and rest.
Now
Yeah.
that'll preach.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and oh my gosh, when I finally just surrendered and said, fine, I don't know what's going on. I've never struggled this much academically or anything like that.
Yeah.
Um, it literally felt like this weight left me. Like could not explain it any better than it felt like I took this weight that I had been carrying it and just handed it over.
Hmm.
And so I called the clinic that I had gotten hired at, and I said, and it was a Christian clinic.
Yeah.
And I said, this is what's going on. And I'm so sorry. It was a month out from me starting. And I said, I can't deny what God is leading me to. Like, just to
Yeah.
stop for a second. And it wasn't even at that point teaching.
Mhm.
And so we still moved down to, the town I grew up in. Um, and honestly, for a few years, I worked. One of my friends was a manager at a Walgreens, and he said, "Hey, will you come just, work back here in the pharmacy with me? All this stuff, and I'll give you regular hours." My son was in preschool at that point, and you can be home with him, weekends and in the
Yeah.
evenings and all that. So I worked there, and it was while I was there that I felt God calling me. It was kind of like, "Hey, remember when you wanted to go into teaching?" And someone came to me and said, "You can go into teaching as like an alt cert,
Oh, yeah, the alternative
non-traditional."
programs.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
as like, a non-traditional teacher. And I said, "No."
You're like, "That's
And
nice to know."
yeah, yeah, that's good information. Um, Also, the funny thing is, on a side note, my youngest sister, which Leslie,
Yes,
she, my mom did let her go into teaching.
but she didn't let you, but she did let her go into teaching.
Yeah, and we joke, and this isn't true, and I know she's gonna watch or listen or whatever. And but she always jokes that mom knew she wasn't smart enough to do something else. I was like,
Oh my gosh, Morgan, whatever.
yeah, she's she's a nut.
Oh, she
Um,
is.
she's way smarter than I am in so many things. Um, but anyway, so I went to mom. It was after church one day, and I said, "Mom," we were literally at a Subway eating lunch, and I said, "I really feel like God's calling me into teaching. Like, I still feel this." And she looked at me, and I'll never forget it. She said, "Yeah, I know." Um,
The fact that it's so upsetting.
she said, "When you go interview at the board, just tell them I ruined your life."
Oh my gosh, because you're like, "She didn't let me go from the beginning."
No, but the funny thing is, I wanted to go into elementary education, and no part of me should ever teach elementary ed.
Yeah, no, I
So
hear
it,
you. I can't do elementary.
yeah. So, it was again, God's funny little story. So I went back and got my degree, got a job at the high school I graduated from, and I'm teaching high school science. And my classes some of my classes are biomed, where I'm using my experience as a PA to help guide these kids that
Isn't
are,
that perfect? Look
it's
at how
just,
God works.
I know it's just something that only God can do. And then
Yeah.
I have an honors anatomy that I have experience. Again, a lot of these kids are medically minded. It's a lot of crossover kids. Um and yeah, getting to say, "Hey, I know what this is like because I did
Yeah,
it."
exactly. So you're like, "I've been there."
Hmm.
So that's
So
good that you'll
anyway,
be able to help them along.
yeah,
Now
it's
when
been
you
amazing.
Oh, I bet. Now when you said that, you said, like, "I'm a Christian teacher." Now, when you say
Hmm.
Christian teacher, you don't mean like you teach at a Christian school. It just means that
Hmm.
you're a teacher in a public school, but you're a
Hmm.
Christian.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, briefly, could you tell us what brought you to Jesus? Like, how did you become a Christian? Like,
Okay, so I grew up in a Christian home. Like,
yeah.
there are pictures of me, and we were Methodist denomination. When I was a kid and until recently. Um, but there are pictures of me getting christened at church,
Mhm.
as an infant, and grew up in church my whole life. Either went to church with my parents or sometimes with my grandmother.
Mhm.
And it was that whole, I always loved I had a drug problem. I was drug to church all the time.
Yeah.
Um, and so that was, what we did. We were at
Went to
church.
church. Yeah.
And so I got baptized when I was in fifth grade,
Mhm.
again, being like Methodist denomination, we did a confirmation class, and then, we could choose to get baptized afterwards. And so I did, because I thought, well, that's what we do.
Yeah.
But then in eighth grade, so I was like 13. Um, we went with our youth group. We always did like a fall retreat down in Tennessee.
Mhm.
And so we went down to that, and that was where I really got saved.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
and so I, prayed to accept Christ, wanted him to take control of my life. And I was never the rebellious kid. I was never out there, but, realized, hey, I'm still a sinner and I still need help.
I still gotta get saved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then, went through high school. I was in FCA, that was the club we had, Fellowship of Christian Athletes at the time. Um, and became a leader in that my junior and senior year, and then went to a Baptist school, and was part of the Baptist Student Union there.
Okay.
And then we had a program kind of like Habitat for Humanity
Yeah.
at our college. It's just strictly to the college, but that's the best analogy I can give of it.
Mhm.
And we would build houses for a lot of the impoverished people in our area, because we live in a pretty poor area.
Yeah.
And it was through that I really started to grow my faith. Like, I obviously was very involved, but that was where, I don't know, it was like the rubber met the road of,
Yeah.
this is what it looks like to be the hands and feet of Jesus. Not just like preaching to the people who already know, but
Mhm.
preaching to the people that don't know and need a savior.
Yeah.
Um and so,
Which is perfect,
anyway,
because
huh?
that leads right into this question. You just
Oh,
nailed
perfect.
it. So I said it said teaching is a mission field. So we have to be the hands and feet of Jesus. How do you see yourself doing that in each day at school, or in school in
Mm.
any capacity?
Um so many ways.
Yeah.
So I do teach at a public school. I am blessed to live in a Christian community. So
Oh,
a
that's
lot of
nice.
people, yeah, a lot of people in our area are professing Christians. And, um, it makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
I'm also a part of a teacher organization called Christian Educators, which, through Morgan.
Yeah.
And they kind of show me really helpful ways to be able to, share my faith and talk to kids about it. And I'm always like, if my kids, open the door, if they just crack it, I'm like, here we go. um and I help with first priority at school. And so I've always got my first priority lanyard on. That's what my name tag and my keys are on, so it's always on me. um
Yeah.
and My kids know that despite who they are, what they're coming from, how they act, I'm going to love on them. Now,
Mhm.
I might give them some hard truths sometimes. I'm kind of known for that, I think.
Yeah, you're
Like,
like tough love.
yeah, I'm not going to sugarcoat things, which is,
Yeah.
again, where the high school, not elementary teacher comes in.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But they know, no matter what, no matter what, that I am going to show them, and as I call it, as I know, the love of Christ. I'm going to
Yeah.
love them in their mess.
Yes, and
Um,
that's essential.
yeah. And so I think that's the biggest way that I affect that mission field. I mean, the
Yeah.
largest mission field in our country is high school,
Oh, yeah.
especially
Oh,
public high
yeah.
school.
Yeah.
Um, and so just loving them where they are, showing them that, despite mistakes and things in their lives and things that they've done and choices that they've made, that, we as Christians, can show them Jesus's love, can
Yeah.
show them that we're not going to give up on them.
Nope,
That,
and that's what I tell my kids all the time. I don't care what your situation is. I'm gonna love you regardless,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
And that's essential.
yeah.
And so that it's a great lead into what encouragement would you give to other teachers who are Christian and in the mission field of education or public education?
To just pray. Pray all the time. Surround yourself with some prayer warriors.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Gosh, it's hard.
It's
It's
so
so
hard.
hard. I mean, we dealt with we've dealt with some really tough things this year. One of the toughest things that a teacher will deal with losing a student by their own choice. And that one, oh my gosh. Loving on kids through that.
Yeah,
That
because
was
student to suicide, right?
mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
heartbreak.
And huh?
I said so heartbreaking.
So heartbreaking. And I had a lot, again, we're a small community. So every one of our kids was affected by it somehow, as most schools would, but a lot of our kids were affected very, very close. One of the kids in our youth group was her sister.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, it's so hard.
yeah, and so loving them in that and having to be a teacher to go into that situation and be the adult that they need and show them um Jesus's love.
Yeah,
That was a moment where I just really had to stop and just like ask everyone around me, you got to pray hard, cuz
yeah,
that was a new one. That was a first for us.
yeah. Losing a student
And
to suicide is always hard, especially
yeah.
nowadays, and it's more prevalent with cyberbullying and all the things going
Mhm.
on, them trying to compete and stick to social media and this and it's just unreal how many kids have committed
Mhm.
suicide. It's
It is.
insane. It's
Uh,
insane.
we with First Priority are doing a thing right now to try and encourage kids to talk to them before we go on Christmas break. And so, your question was, what do you do as a teacher to stick with this? And I think just bottom line is just pray without ceasing, like the Bible says.
Yeah.
Just don't stop.
It's such a good
Um,
way to put it.
yeah. I mean, I'm praying all day. Sometimes I need more prayer than others.
Oh, yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah.
Well, like, I totally get it, Marcy. Like, people have no idea how much prayer it takes to survive it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
tough. Well,
Yeah.
and well, it makes me think what I was telling you before. Like, I've had a terrible attitude lately for a number of reasons. So today, I dressed up real nice. I wore the dress I had on at church yesterday because I only wore it for an hour, so it's still
So
clean.
it's still good. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I thought, I'm going to dress nice. It's going to make me feel good about myself. I'm going to go in and I'm just going to have this new attitude and be able to make it to Christmas break. And it did the exact opposite. I
You're
was
like, wearing the dress did not help.
yeah, I was uncomfortable and I was fiddling with it all day. And then to top it off, so like I said, I teach anatomy
Yeah.
and I've taught anatomy so long and I just have everything prepared. So, and I'm just, ready for it. So I go in a lot of times and I know where I'm at with it in a ballpark, but I didn't realize today, and this is going to tell me about my level of preparation for today. But I didn't realize I was going over movement terms
No, in a dress.
in a dress, a
Oh,
knee length
no.
dress. And so I looked at my anatomy kids, and I always tell them that they are my little piece of heaven on earth. They're my little angels. Morgan, my sister, calls them my kumbaya kids because she said, all you do in there is sit and sing kumbaya all day. Um,
You like, wanna bet?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they have their own issues. They're good kids, but they
Yeah.
come on the other end where they're like overstressing and anxiety riddled and all that because they're
Oh,
put
I
too much
hear ya.
pressure.
I hear ya.
Yeah, but anyway, so I was like, guys, we're just gonna deal with it. We're gonna roll with it. Wearing a dress and showing you how to do abduction and adduction and plantar flexion and dorsiflexion, and we're just gonna act like it's fine.
3 words that every teacher goes by. Roll with it. You know?
Flexibility.
Legit. Well, let's head over to the comments. So, Clementine, who teaches kindergarten, says, "Yes, I give you all props being a mom and a teacher. There is no way I could do it all or do it.
Yeah,
LOL." That's funny.
yeah. You just do
Uh,
what you gotta.
you do what you got to do as moms, right? Like,
Hmm.
you just make it work.
Yeah,
Nessia said, "That's a good question. For me, I have had to learn ways to encourage and motivate my students, even when they can be a challenge. I have to let them know someone actually cares for them,
hmm,
even when they may not do the right thing," which is what you
yeah,
were saying.
yeah,
It's so true.
yeah,
Um, she said, "I think as teachers, we are needed now more than ever,
yeah,
even if we may not feel appreciated daily, we
yeah.
still have to love on them." And that's so true. And
Well, and oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no, you go ahead.
Well, last year, and this one broke my heart, and the kid's in a much better situation now, but he had just moved to our district and it was fall. And he came up to me and he said, "When's Mother's Day?" And I said, it's in May. And honestly, I can't remember
You're
when
like,
it
"I don't
is.
know the date, but I know it's in
It's
May."
it's a Sunday in May.
Yeah.
That's what I know. And he said, "Well, I don't have a mom, and you treat me like a mom, and so can I get you a Mother's Day card?" And I was like,
Oh, I know.
"What?"
Like when
And
when a student slips up and calls you mom, it's like, "Oh,
especially in high school,
I know," because we don't get that.
no,
We get
we
called
don't
things,
get
but
gifts,
mom
we
isn't
don't
it.
get hugs. When I had one try to give me a hug that last week, I was like, "What are you doing?
What's
Are you
wrong?
trying to put something on my back?"
Yeah, like really. And we do get called a lot of things, but mom is not one of them.
No. Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh. Nessia said, "Yes, the suicides are getting more and more frequent, and it's
Yeah,
heartbreaking that our poor babies feel that's an outlet due to the things that they have to endure." And
it's unreal.
it's crazy. It's
Yeah,
seriously crazy the amount of suicides that have, and not just with high school, like middle school kids.
I know, I
Like,
know.
it's craziness. It's
Yeah.
absolute craziness. Well, oh my gosh, Marsee, thank you so much for being here. Does anybody have any other questions? Anything else for Marsee? If so, please feel free to drop it in the comments.
Mhm.
If you guys want to share this and or go back and rewatch it later, you can go to www.lesliesaidwhat.com and you'll be able to watch it the full episode on YouTube. It will also be available via podcast, all major podcast networks tomorrow. So definitely check it out. And share it with a friend who could use a little bit of encouragement and let them know they are not alone in the teacher struggle.
No.
But Marsee, thank you again for being here. I'm going to put you
Yeah.
backstage, so wait for me. Don't
Okay.
leave me.
Thanks, Leslie. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, Marsee. All right, guys. As I said, this was a great episode. I loved hearing people's stories. I don't know about you. I'm one of those people. I was like, tell me your story. Tell me it all. And sometimes it includes tea and sometimes it doesn't. But either way, it's always fun to hear. But guys, definitely tune in next week. We'll be back again with another teacher. Well, actually, not even next week. It'll be this Thursday. We have another teacher who'll be here to share her testimony and her story and letting us know how teaching is going, et cetera, et cetera. There is something right there on my neck. If you are listening via podcast, you can't see it, but on YouTube, you can. Anyway, moving on. All right, guys. But thanks again for being here. Season 4, episode 4 is out.
Let's be rock comedy.